for a very important date, and we're 2 weeks late on top of this. So apologies. We were just scrambling, we were having some troubles getting it up on Instagram as well as YouTube today. Welcome back. Lobotomy Hour is in full force, a.k.a. Politics Live, a.k.a. Well, those are the two names, isn't it? Those are the two names. I have many names. You know, Alex Clark, It's Me Mario, Mouse Rat, Grape. You know me. I've been a traveling girly the last couple of weeks. We have been to Tennessee. We've been to Virginia. I have been to D.C. like very quickly once or twice. But I've never like ventured out into Virginia ever until I was just there visiting Polyface Farm, as you probably know. And I'm so excited to talk to you about that. And then we were just in Tennessee. Actually, we have a really fun vlog coming out tomorrow morning, and it's all about me being in Franklin, Tennessee, shopping with my new color palette, and I think you're gonna like that. I mean, I don't know, hopefully, but it's one of those like little vlogs, and we did something special in the beginning, and if you do not appreciate the intro that we put together for this vlog, and you will know when you see it, if every single comment is not praising my editor to the heavens for this intro, you're dead to me, because it is so phenomenal. I gave him this vision and he executed it in such a way it brought tears to my eyes, and it's hilarious. So anyway, you have that to look forward to tomorrow morning. Now, I want to check in with you, see how things have been going for the last couple of weeks, because, you know, I haven't gotten to meet, and it just, when I don't get to talk to you, it feels like I'm missing my family, and there's just so much going on that, you know, I'm unaware of. So I did tell you to submit questions for me and different things that you wanted to talk about for a Q&A, which we'll get to last. And so I'm very excited about that. And let me know what you think also. If you're like, so for me, my favorite podcasts, I love when they do solo episodes, and I love when they do just like solo, only them, not with their producer, not with a guest, and they're answering guest submitted questions. I love that. Love that. So as a listener, I enjoy it, but I am curious about you. You're my audience. Every audience is unique. And if you like it when I do that or not, so I know for later, but I thought I would do it today because it has been a couple weeks since we saw each other. Now, today, first, also, I'm just realizing that that I forgot to grab my Freedom 2.0 water. So if one of you, it would be so kind to give me that for this hour. I'm going to need it. We've got a lot, and I'm going to be thirsty. So first thing that we're going to discuss today is Travis Kelce's comments about Harrison Butker's speech, you know, his allegedly controversial commencement speech at Benedictine College, where he was addressing the young women in the audience, and he was telling them, you know, some of you may go on to lead. Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you. He was talking to the women, and he was like, you know, some of you may go on to lead successful careers. And he said, I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited, though, about your future marriage and your children that you will, you know, hopefully, God willing, bring into this world. People were upset. Travis Kelce has not said anything. His brother Jason they've not said anything until today. They released their statements on their podcast this morning. I was like waiting with bated breath for that to happen. Does anyone else drink like that when you're wearing lipstick? Like a fish? It's the only way to do it. Yesterday, my face was itchy, but I had a full face of makeup on, obviously, when I'm filming a full face, and I was going like this. And my editor was like, what's wrong with you? You okay? And I was like, I'm itching. This is how girls itch their faces. You do the tap with your nails digging in. You can't, like, actually, you know, scratch your face. You'll scratch your makeup off. We're also going to talk about the new George Floyd movie called Daddy Changed the World. Say his name. George Floyd. Say his name. George Floyd. Aren't you excited about Daddy Changed the World? Celine Dion, speaking of documentaries, she has a new documentary coming out called I Am Celine Dion. It's all about her illness that she was diagnosed with The death was announced today of the Super Size Me documentary filmmaker Morgan Spurlock. Some people are speculating. They're like, oh my gosh, did his 1 month of McDonald's kill him? His documentary, in 2004, of course, Super Size Me, all he did was eat McDonald's for 1 month straight, and then he documented what happened to his health. And people are like, oh my gosh, it all caught up to him. We'll discuss that because I have something controversial to say. And then we're going to end with the viewer-submitted Q&A for some life updates and general tomfoolery. Now, anytime that I say his name, in the chat, you guys have to type George Floyd. So that's the game that we're playing today. So anytime I just say his name, George Floyd. Okay. Also, don't forget, 2 weeks away from the Young Women's Leadership Summit, YWLS2024.com. You can use code ALEX for 25% off general admission. Megan Kelly, House and Habit, Suzanne Venker, Holistic Hilda, Emma's for Mama, Allie Beth Stuckey, Nurse Lauren Johnson from Red Pill Your Health. Lots of huge names going to be there. This is like the most spillover Alex Clark lineup that we've ever had. So if you love the show and you like what I talk about, you're really going to like YWLS. San Antonio, June 7th through 9th, YWLS2024.com, code ALEX. All right. Travis Kelce has reacted to Harrison Butker's speech. So Travis and Jason gave their statements on Travis's teammate Harrison Butker's commencement speech that he made at a Catholic college recently. It's gotten a lot of negative feedback. They both haven't said anything until today. Here's 2 minutes of what Travis Kelce had to say about it. 2 minutes of Travis. Do we have that queued up?
Make no mistake about it. A lot of the things he said in his commencement speech are not things that
this isn't correct.
Align myself with.
Wrong clip. Wrong clip.
Commencement.
This is Travis Kelce's statement at 24:33.
I mean, I've known him for 7+ years, probably 8+ years.
Yeah.
And I cherish him as a teammate. I think Pat said it best, where he is every bit of a great person and a great teammate. He's treated friends and family that I've introduced to him with nothing but respect and kindness. And that's how he treats everyone.
Yeah.
When it comes down to his views and what he said at the St. Benedict's commencement speech, those are his. I can't say I agree with the majority of it or just about any of it outside of just him loving his family and his kids. And I don't think that I should judge him by his views, especially his religious views of how to go about life. That's just not who I am. I think I grew up in a beautiful upbringing of different social classes, different religions, different races and ethnicities in Cleveland Heights. And that's why I love Cleveland Heights for what it was. It showed me a broad spectrum or just a broad view of a lot of different walks of life. And I appreciated every single one of those people for different reasons. And I never once had to feel like I needed to judge them based off of their beliefs.
Yeah.
My household, my mother and my father both provided for our family. And both my mother and my father made home what it was. So they were homemakers and they were providers. And they were unbelievable at being present every single day in my life.
No doubt.
And I think that was a beautiful upbringing for me. Now, I don't think everyone should do it the way that my parents did, but I certainly and sure as hell thank my parents and love my parents for being able to provide and making sure that that home was what it was, because I'm not the same person without both of them being who they were in my life.
It's always great to hear from people that really actually know people than to a bunch of people reacting to comments without really.
He was going to say comments without really knowing the person. So that was Travis's thoughts on the whole thing. Say his name. Here is Jason Kelce's thoughts, which are a little spicier.
Make no mistake about it. A lot of the things he said in his commencement speech are not things that I align myself with. But, he's giving a commencement speech at a Catholic university, and shocker, it ended up being a very religious and Catholic speech. And to me, I can listen to somebody talk and take great value in it. Like when he's talking about the importance of family and the importance of that a great mother can make, while also acknowledge that not everybody has to be a homemaker if that's not what they want to do in life.
Yeah.
When you're listening to somebody, you take in things that you like, you listen to other things and you say, well, I don't like that. Like I've had so many people ask me, what would you do if your daughters had to sit there and listen to somebody tell them after they just earned a degree that they should just go to a line to be homemakers? And I would say if my daughters listen to anybody tell them what to do, that they should be homemakers, then I've failed as a dad. Like, what the f are you talking about? I don't care who's talking to them. If you let somebody up on a stage tell you that you can't do that, and then you're like, oh, I guess I won't go be a Fortune 500 CEO, like you weren't going to make it. Like, what are we talking about? All you have to do is just say, like if you don't like what somebody says, all you got to do is say, oh, that guy's an idiot. And then you move on. Like, I don't get what the whole fuss is about, quite honest. I mean, I get what the fuss is about because I know that certain of these groups have been persecuted against for a long period in this country. And women in particular, obviously, my wife, she was, I think, a little bit frustrated with some of the comments. Initially, I said, listen, you're going to need to go back in the kitchen and make me a sandwich. I'm listening to the game right now.
We were doing so good. We were killing it.
That joke at the end was hilarious. I laughed out loud when I saw it the first time. I thought both of them were kind. They handled this maturely. They handled it with humor. While still upholding their own values, which is that they disagree with Harrison. Now, I have to be honest, I was really nervous for Travis and what he was going to say. I kind of assumed that he was going to come out guns a-blazing. I would have done anything to read the text between him and Taylor when that speech first happened and it went viral, and just seeing like how they reacted privately. But I never thought, here's the thing, I never thought that they were going to agree with what he said. First of all, I knew that was out of the cards for sure. But I figured what I really figured, I thought it was going to be a way worse than what ended up happening. I thought that the Chiefs, I thought that the NFL, I thought that Travis, I thought that most of his teammates were all going to come out and like disavow him really strongly. I thought that there would be some sort of consequences because that is the world that we live in. It's very sad, but I just figured, that he was going to be suspended temporarily or disciplined in some way. I don't know what they do in, professional sports, but I figured something was going to be happening. And so it was a sigh of relief for me to hear his coach, his teammates in the NFL all say Harrison Butker is his own person. There's a lot of different religious and political views in the NFL. Everybody is entitled to their own views. I was like, wow, well, okay, it really can be that easy. Amazing. I mean, that's great. I don't know, was that really the case whenever everybody was being forced to get the juice in 2020? I don't know. I don't know. But at least this was the correct response. It was the best response that we could have hoped for. That being said, I do want to address one thing that Jason said, which I don't think is accurate. Roll tape.
These groups have been persecuted against for a long period in this country.
So he's basically saying here, women have had it really hard in America. They've overcome being treated like second-class citizens, which is why it's just so amazing that we, pushed all of them into the workplace. So Harrison's speech, I'm paraphrasing what I think Jason is trying to say. Harrison's speech is problematic because then he's suggesting that women need to go back in time and not pursue high-powered careers. One, I don't think that is what Harrison was saying at all personally. But two, what Travis and Jason and likely Taylor and Kylie, Jason's wife, don't understand is that both of these life tracks for women were largely incorrect. To expect a woman, which a lot of was happening in the 50s, that's why you had all these women, popping mommy's little helpers in the 60s and getting hooked on Valium. A lot of these women, or expecting these women to, be bored to death all day, just sitting there dusting her home, popping industrialized food, instant meals into the oven, sending her kids to school so she's like literally doing nothing all day. that was asking her to live a lesser life than what women were made for. And then to then go in the 70s and manipulate her and tell her that you are only going to find fulfillment and worth working primarily outside of the home. That was also terrible advice and extremely damaging to women. We know how that ended up turning out now, over 50 years later, and women are more depressed, we're more burnt out, we're more anxious than ever. We feel like we're drowning trying to maintain executive positions in corporate America while also being a mom. Maybe there are some women who breeze around that, no big deal. Obviously, there are always exceptions to the rule, but I would say that the majority probably do find it extremely stressful, these pressures to maintain a full-time, very corporate, high-powered job, and then also trying to be a wife and a mom and keep up your home and doing all of that stuff. It's not natural to be able to do both of those full speed. Now, there are plenty of women that'll be like, well, I handle both just fine. But the truth is, I would say that most find it extremely stressful and nearly impossible to feel like someone or something is not getting less of your time or attention between work and family. Both of those require a lot of undivided attention to be able to meet your work deadlines, to be able to make sure your kids are getting to where they need to be. You've got a healthy, nutritious meal. This is why, because so many of us are in the workplace. Now, I don't have kids and a family yet. Everything will be changing for me if that happens one day. Hopefully it will, but it just hasn't yet. So people are like, don't say like it for sure will, because I don't know. Other single women that are in my position, like, we don't know what God has in store for us. So and I hope it is, if it is God's will for me to get married and have a family, then, that stuff is going to change. But that's why you have so many women who are trying to maintain this full speed ahead, 9 to 5 or even longer than that day of work. And then they're like, well, because I'm so stressed out and like there's no time and I'm exhausted by the end of the day, that is why we're going through Chick-fil-A, the drive-thru at night. Now you've got your kids and your husbands, everybody's health, your own included, everybody's health then is suffering because you're doing what's convenient, you're doing what's fast, because all this time during the day, like, you don't have time to be cooking home-cooked meals. You don't have, you know what I mean? So I understand it. The truth is that something is likely going to suffer. Usually it does end up being your family in some ways. So I will say, as a woman, I would much rather be married to a Harrison Butker than a Travis Kelce. And I will tell you why. I like Travis. I am a huge Swiftie. I think he's a great match for her. Again, they're both not Christians. They're both liberals. All of their ideologies match up. So they're great for each other. But there is something profoundly attractive about a man not once but twice risking his entire career for speaking out about his Christian conservative beliefs. So people may not realize this, but the first time Harrison said something deeply countercultural was actually in 2022, and it was in this room. It was on my friend John Root's sports podcast. Harrison said he would rather retire than compromise on his morals and get the juice. So now we have 2 years later, he took the opportunity to publicly speak completely true, yet deeply unpopular beliefs in today's culture, which is that for the majority of women, especially Christian women, we will feel our most fulfilled and likely feel like we have found our highest calling when we become wives and mothers. That's not saying women shouldn't have careers, which is how nobody knows how to truly listen anymore. So they're like, oh, women shouldn't work. Women should have careers. He's not saying that. He's just saying that even if you go and do all that, you're likely going to find your highest fulfillment in being a wife and a mom. And I loved that so many Christian conservative women who heard that speech and got it, and not all of you did, which I'll get to, the ones that got it were sharing like pictures of them with their degrees, graduating from college, or them, accomplishing some amazing, career accomplishment. But then they were like, guess what? I'm just making stuff up, but I ran a marathon around the world, and I beat up a bear, and then I don't know, and then I won a hot dog eating contest. And despite all of my accolades, all of my accomplishments, all of my degrees, Harrison Butker is right. The most fulfilling, most amazing, most profound thing that I did and will ever do was becoming a wife and a mother. That's what he was saying. which I thought was beautiful, especially for a Christian conservative audience. Is that sexist? If you do not hold that worldview, then yeah, you are going to have a warped idea of the world, and so you will find that sexist. Even though that's completely wrong and untrue, that is how you're going to interpret it. But for Christians, self-proclaiming Christians, which is who he was talking to, it shouldn't be. Our hedonistic, worldly culture is going to tell women, put yourself first, put off having a family, the career is the most important. And I find it interesting that despite all that indoctrination, half of women will still end up, even the women that are like, well, I don't agree with that speech, I'm a feminist, blah, 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 that was deeply sexist and misogynistic. Half of women, guess what? The data says half of you are still going to end up quitting your career entirely once you have kids, or going down part-time because you need more time to spend with your family. You want more time to spend with your family and your children. That is a natural response for the majority of women. It's almost as if we were biologically hardwired to want to be with our children and serve them and our family than be a cog in the machine in corporate America. And that reality comes for all of us, regardless of political persuasion. The data that says that half of women will end up leaving their careers once they have kids, it didn't only survey conservative mothers, conservative women. It didn't only survey Christian women, Catholic women, Muslim women. No, it was just women in general in America. What do you end up doing with your work schedule once you have kids? Majority say, I have to quit entirely. I totally feel like I need to be there for my kids, especially at a young age. Now, that doesn't say that they don't ever come back into the workforce. That doesn't say that they're not re-entering after a few years once their kids become school age or whatever. It's just saying that when you first have a baby, a lot of women are going to say, I can't come back. Once your maternity leave is up, I'm not coming back at all. Or I'm going to come back, but it's going to be at a very part-time capacity, or I need to work from home or something. They adjust their schedules. Now, why would we be doing that? Because we know inherently that that's the right thing to do as women. It's natural. It's unnatural to be separated from your brand new baby to go work an 8-9 hour work day. That's not the way that it was supposed to be for our health or our children. I could not believe that there were some conservatives who had a problem with this speech. Like I have said many times, there are a lot of conservative women who are indoctrinated by feminism and they have no idea. They would tell you, I'm not a feminist. Oh my gosh, I don't agree with feminism at all. And then they will be offended by a speech like this. And you have to ask yourself, why am I being offended? Am I truly offended, or am I feeling convicted? Am I subscribing to some tenets and ideals of feminism even when I didn't realize it? Why would you find the speech offensive? I truly don't get it. If you are a conservative and you would say that I'm not a feminist, then why would you find this offensive? It's just crazy. What do you think about Travis and Jason's response, though, in their podcast of what they said? I'll read some of your takes here. Let me scroll up a little bit. A lot of comments, sorry. Emily said, I feel like Jason and Kylie's family model isn't so far off from what Butker was suggesting. Yeah, so here's the ironic part. Patrick Mahomes, who also said, I don't necessarily agree with everything he said, but I respect his views on family or whatever, and he's a nice guy. Travis, Jason, they all said the same thing. Travis isn't married with kids yet, but Jason is, and Patrick Mahomes is. And it's like literally both of those men, Patrick and Jason, would not be able to have the careers that they did or that they do if their wives did not manage the home and take care of their kids and handle all of that the way that they do and support their husbands the way that they do. Which I'm not saying that they discredited what their wives do or whatever. I'm just saying exactly what Emily just said. They literally do the same thing, but when you hear it written like that, it's like, oh, well, I'm told that I'm supposed to agree with that, or that we need to be pushing women to have careers outside of the home. So they're conditioned to feel like they have to say that they disagree, but their actions say otherwise. Their actions show that they completely agree with Harrison Butker, and their wives' actions show that they completely agree with Harrison Butker. Again, the confusion here is coming from they think that Harrison Butker is saying a woman should never have a career. And that's what Jason's saying, like, it would be weird if my daughters were sitting in the audience and then a guy came up and said, like, you shouldn't have a career, you should be a homemaker. That's not what he was saying. Again, he's saying, like, you can do all of that, but you're probably just going to find more fulfillment in this, which is, again, not untrue. Rachel said Travis's response was perfect. I don't know how much PR helped in whipping that up, but he couldn't have said it better. Yeah, I think he said it so good. And I'm sure Taylor helped a lot, too. A-Pie says, Kelce surprised me in a positive way. I would agree. I really thought he was going to slam him. And Spielman Farm says, Jason and Travis are cherry picking the speech. Harrison was making a greater point that our broken society needs a strong family structure, which means generally adhering to traditional gender roles. Of course, this is a self-evident truth that you and I should know and agree with. Fabulous. Okay, moving on now to George Floyd, Daddy Changed the World, the movie. Say his name. George Floyd. Say his name. George Floyd. A family-authorized George Floyd biopic titled Daddy Changed the World is in the works from Radar Pictures and 8 Queens Films and Media Productions and Night Fox Entertainment. Floyd's daughter, Gianna Floyd, and her mother, Roxy, are involved in the making of the film, serving as executive producers. Daddy Changed the World. That's an interesting title, especially the daddy part. Say his name. Variety says the biopic will apparently not portray Floyd as a perfect person, but rather a father with human flaws whose horrific death changed the world. It will not be a traditional biopic, more a gritty drama of a man and his community thrust into the fiery light of history. Human flaws. The biopic will apparently not portray Floyd as a perfect person, but rather a father with human flaws. That's an interesting way to put it. Sure, a flawed human being. He posed as a repairman. He showed up to a woman's home and staged a home invasion, home burglary, held a knife to her stomach while she was pregnant and threatened to kill her. Let's see what the rest of the vision is for this film. Right now, it's really sounding positive, and this is important, to show just everybody has flaws. Everybody has flaws. You might, have cheated on your spelling test in elementary school. Maybe you grow up and hold a knife to a pregnant woman's stomach while you invade her home. We all have flaws. We all have flaws. Maybe you, had a little bit too much dessert at dinner last night. We all have flaws. We're no different than George Floyd, you and I. We're all equal. We're all equal here in the scheme of things. We are so excited, this Variety article says, we are so excited the world will see the real jovial and loving George we know. This film will humanize him, embody the essence of his life, and hopefully reignite efforts to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. It's time for justice and equality for all. She added, we need to make changes swiftly. No other child should lose their father like Gianna did. We thank everyone who stood with us and protested. George's legacy will live on through his film. His legacy! The jovial, loving George that we know. Say his name. Did you, Gianna, and what was the mother's name? Roxy. How well did you know him? How often was he around? Was he joyful and was he loving during his 8 jail terms and being charged 19 times throughout his life? The same person writing this film, by the way, did Stomp the Yard. Fun fact. The question is it possible to be a present, joyful, loving father on meth and fentanyl? For the majority of your life? What reality are these people living in? He was never a father of any sort to his 5 children. And that is a tragedy. It is a tragedy that this man died. Nothing to do with Derek Chauvin, by the way. He died of a drug overdose. We know this. They've admitted this. But we're pretending like they didn't admit it, so now we can make a movie about what a jovial, loving, amazing, just flawed human being, but amazing father who, come on. These poor kids, they didn't know their dad. It's just freaking insane. It's insane. Jovial and loving. Just human flaws, just posing as a repairman, invading a woman's home, threatening to kill her. It's just tomato, human flaws. Candace Owens once said, George Floyd is not and will never be a name synonymous with justice because he himself victimized way too many people in his life. He victimized people. His kids are victims from a fatherless existence. The woman that he terrorized and her unborn child are victims. Everyone involved. I'm sure that he was doing drugs with people. I mean, obviously, it's like you don't always do drugs alone. Anyone that was wrapped up in that with him, victims. He himself was a victim as well. He is a victim as well. Not from Derek Chauvin, but a lot of other stuff. A lot of other stuff that leads to a person living a life like this. I'm sure he's encountered lots of hardships and abuse himself. But again, not from Derek Chauvin. This is a violent, criminal drug addict who died from being a drug addict, who terrorized others, who never showed up for his own family in his life. But we're going to make a whole movie, Daddy Changed the World. These people are absolutely unwell. Unwell. The Super Size Me director, Morgan Spurlock, died of cancer at 53. It was announced today. A lot of people, remember his documentary in 2004 where he ate McDonald's for a month. And so people were speculating like, oh, my gosh, he's only 53. He's dying of cancer. Was it McDonald's that made him sick? Like only eating that for a month, did it just completely irreversibly damage his health? So I don't think so. Here's what I will say, and maybe you don't know this or you forgot. He left the spotlight entirely in 2017 because it came out. A few controversies about him came out. He admitted that he had been an alcoholic since he was 13. So this was controversial because it was like, okay, so, the damage done by the eating only at McDonald's, I mean, that is probably compounding with the fact that you're an alcoholic. And then now, he's died of cancer, which is very sad. But also it's like, well, everybody, I don't know that people, I think people just don't know that he has said throughout his life he's never gone a week without a drink since he was 13 years old. So obviously that is going to completely destroy your health. I don't think it was 1 month of McDonald's. I think it was probably likely that. He had a history of sexual misconduct in the workplace. I don't know how, anything. Sexual misconduct is like complimenting a woman's shirt. So I don't know. I didn't look into how severe that was, but just so that came out in 2017 as well. It's like all of that led to him completely dropping out of the spotlight. But if we're just sticking to his health stuff, I just wanted to bring that up. I think a lot of people are getting that wrong and just trying to make it. People in the health and wellness space are like, oh, remember he ate McDonald's for a year. Now he's got cancer at 53 years old, or McDonald's for a month. I just don't think that that's what it is. But that being said, Super Size Me as a documentary was extreme because obviously that's like an extreme case. Like the average American eats a lot of fast food, but they're not eating only McDonald's every day, for months straight. So it was an extreme example to make a point that, our fast food is disgusting and you shouldn't eat it if at all possible. And it was important. So, obviously we're thinking of his family and his kids. And I know that they're all probably really grieving right now. But I think it's awesome to know that your parent made just such a profound impact on public discourse like that documentary did. There's a few documentaries I think all of us like have seen, and not everybody's like a documentary person, but like that's a movie. I mean, we were all at least my school district, we were all showed that in health class in middle school. Like it was profoundly impactful. So I think we all remember watching it when we were younger. Last story before Q&A. Celine Dion new documentary comes out next month, Amazon Prime, June 25th. It's called I Am Celine Dion, and it gives us a raw and honest behind-the-scenes look at the iconic superstar's struggle with a life-altering illness. It's serving as a love letter to her fans, and they're calling it an inspirational documentary. Highlights the music that has guided her life while also showcasing the resilience of the human spirit. Here's the trailer.
Ready? Is the sound man okay? My voice is the conductor of my life. When your voice brings you joy. I get wings to fly. À vous les garçons? Je t'aime. You're the best of yourself. I need my instrument. I'm alive.
Celine.
911, what's your emergency?
Have been diagnosed with a very rare neurological disorder, and I wasn't ready to say anything before. But I'm ready now. There were nights when the wind was so cold. I see my life, and I love every piece of it. When a girl loves her shoes, she always make them fit. From 6 to 10, give it to me. I love them. Here we go. I finished crying in the instant naturally. When you record, it sounds great, but when you go on stage, it will be greater. I think we did create our own magic. There were days when the sun was so cruel. It's not hard to do a show, you know. It's hard to cancel a show. I'm working hard every day, but I have to admit, it's been a struggle. I miss it so much. The people. I miss them. If I can't run, I'll walk. If I can't walk, I'll crawl. I won't stop. I won't stop. It's all coming back to me.
I love Celine Dion. I have chills. I love Celine Dion. I grew up obsessed with her. I listened to my favorite song when I was 6 years old that I listened to on repeat was Treat Her Like a Lady with my mom in the car. Like, that album changed my life. I love her. So I'm excited. Now, she did have some kind of weird demonic clothing line that came out recently. That was strange. Everybody kind of moved on from that. But I think that's going to be good. Like, I'm going to watch that. So that's June 25th on Amazon Prime. I always like to keep you guys abreast. I love that word. I like to keep you abreast on what's happening. Okay, Q&A time. So I asked you guys to submit some questions for me. If there's anything good, producers, be reading the chat. If you have anything to add that you didn't submit to me, put it in the chat and maybe I'll answer it. If there's anything good, tell me in my ear and I'll answer it or not. Okay, so, and then also, is Simon in there? Okay, Simon, somebody wanted to know how long does it take to fully produce one YouTube doc? So like, let's say like a vlog. You know, the filming it, and then by the time, like, everything's done, how long would you say it is? 2 weeks? Yeah, I would say how long it takes to fully produce one YouTube video for me, at least 2 weeks. If it's a scripted video where I'm like, there's been a few where it's a very serious video where I'm like talking about like all these statistics and I don't know, some topic on dating or something like that, then those take very long. That takes probably like a month total between me trying to write the script and get all that done and edited, filming it, and then the editor spending time, you know, editing the video up and sourcing clips, and then that going through multiple rounds of us watching it and giving feedback and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. I would say that takes several weeks, and it's a really small team. I have only two people that edit long form content like that for me. So, those two people. Oh, we have one? I thought she was still on, but just remote, but now it's only you? Little Simon says, nope, Alex, it's just me now. So I have one editor, and that is the person who is filming and editing all of my spillover episodes. And, those are like hours long to go through all of that because, sometimes there's a bathroom break or we mess up what we're saying and things like that. So he's got to go through all of that. He's got to put my ads in. And then he's also, Dom, but you're not full-time on my team. Yeah, shoot, but I'm talking, they want to know edit. We have shooters. We have multiple shooters, but as far as editors, I think I only have one long-form editor. So, yes, lots of people filming because we have multiple camera angles, but then editors, we have one at this point. So, yes, that is how long it takes to fully produce one YouTube doc. Now, some people that are working for, like, huge media companies, they might have 20 people on their team and multiple producers and writers and people that prep for their interviews and do all this kind of stuff. But it takes a little bit longer for us because we are a nonprofit and we don't have as many staff. But it makes it special because we are a nonprofit. So it's like we get to do something that we're passionate about for a cause that we're passionate about with donations from people like you. Do you drink homemade or store-bought bone broth? So I drink store-bought. I do Kettle and Fire bone broth. I get the regenerative chicken bone broth, which sounds so freaking good right now. I'm so bad I've not had a morsel to eat today. And then as soon as I'm done with this live, I'm going into like a several hour long video call to go over my YWLS speech and run through that and make edits and things like that. So it's like I'm still not going to have time to eat. So I'm not going to eat basically except dinner tonight, which I'm sad about because I'm starving, but that's just how it is. So yeah, I like the regenerative chicken bone broth. Sorry, I'm screaming. One thing I've never done, which I really want to do, is I've never roasted a full chicken yet. That's like one thing I haven't cooked or learned to cook well. So that is on my radar that I really want to learn to do, and I need to just try it. So maybe once like all the YWLS craziness, this is always the busiest time. This and then between in the November and December with our conferences, holiday breaks and things coming up. These are always the busiest times of the year for me where I like do not have a second to clearly eat today. And then once that's done, it's like I'm normal and then I can do stuff. So hopefully this summer I would love to roast a full chicken. What is your dream partnership or future project? Well, future project, I don't have, anything that you don't know about. There is maybe you don't know. I feel like I've been talking about it, but we are completely rebranding the Spillover. Like new name, new colors, like won't be called the Spillover anymore. Gasp. Did you not know that? Like everything is changing on that. Not the content. The content's exactly the same, but everything else is going to be different. So that is a future project, I guess, upcoming this summer. But dream partnership would be Olipop. Hello. Dream spillover guest, dead or alive. Elizabeth Elliott, Lauren Bostic. I'd love to interview Michaela Peterson, Dr. Mark Hyman. I would freak out. So those would be those top. Polyface Farm recap, ? You are getting a huge Polyface Farm recap in the vlog that we made of me touring the farm and all of that. Not a long one. I think it's going to be no longer than 15 minutes or something like that, but touring the farm and then a mini interview with Congressman Thomas Massey about food in America and food laws in America that are corrupt. So that is coming out at the same week that my long-form interview with Joel Salatin is coming out, and that is going to be in June. But it was so fun. It was so beautiful. I've never been to that area of the country, and it was Shenandoah Valley, Virginia. It was so gorgeous. It was really rainy, cloudy while I was there, but it was still beautiful. And oh my gosh, one morning they made us breakfast. It was like the best breakfast ever. And there's so many things I could spoil and say, but I can't. I need some things to be a surprise. Can we get someone on to talk about all things cosmetics, beauty treatments, lasers, retinol injections, etc.? I am wanting to do this. I have reached out to so many people, and it's like they either decline or they just don't get back to us. But there are several people that I'm like, I trust you. I trust your expertise. By the way, both on the pro and anti filler injection side of things. So I'm wanting to do these things. It's just I haven't been able to lock down the right guess. But yes, that is something I would love to do. I love listening to like experts talk about like, do this laser, do this. Like I'm obsessed with all of those things. Because I'm also I need to start doing like laser treatments and stuff like that because now I'm 31. Thoughts on wearing 100% cotton and linen clothing. Love this. If you are in a season of your life that you can pull this off, like, I think it's incredible. I would love to be able to do that. The reality is, like, I have too many events, formal events, different things. Like, I can't only wear cotton and linen, you know, like, I'm sorry, but I can't wear a linen dress to Mar-a-Lago. It's just like how it is. So I need to be able to just wear different things. So that's not something I can do. I will say that all of my underwear is 100% organic cotton. I love that. So I do what I can. And then, like, you know, for like loungewear and stuff like that, I love if I can find a 100%, you know, linen or cotton item. But I have friends that do that. And, you know, it's great for them. Those that do that are basically like stay-at-home moms and stuff. So it's like they can kind of do it. When or if you have kids, will you have them get juiced? No. N-O. Not one, not ever. What are some things that you agree with liberals on? Birth control historically, now they're trying to act like this is all exclusively like a right-wing thing to speak out about the health risks of birth control because, you know, it's an election year and they've got a narrative to sell. You know, Roe v. Wade was overturned, so now they want to like freak people out and galvanize women voters that the right wants to take away your birth control. I don't want to take birth control away from anybody. I mean, I would hope that you choose yourself to not take it is the thing. But I'm not like saying it needs to be banned or something. I just like want the information to be so well known that people think twice about taking it. Just like what you do with cigarettes. Cigarettes aren't banned. You can still buy cigarettes, but everyone knows the health risks, right? So we need to get to that point in America where it's like common knowledge how damaging birth control is. I would say, so things I agree with liberals on. I would say I don't really agree with the left on much of anything. Maybe regenerative farming, that's huge. You know, the left loves that because it's all about climate change, but I like it because it creates healthier and more nutrient-dense food. I'm very anti-crony capitalism, although that now also seems like a thing that the left embraces. They, you know, if you think about it, the narrative used to be that the right was all about big business, and, you know, not about the common man, and that was, you know, traditional liberal, that was a traditional liberal views, that they were for the working man. Now I think that's really switched. I think that the left is way more embedded with corporatism. You know, every single major industry is ran and controlled by the left, from, you know, wide things like Hollywood, education, healthcare, but also then you get into just like every single major business that we all use, your cell phone providers, you know, stores, TV networks. I mean, the news, where you get your information, everything is controlled by them. So I'm just like, I mean, this whole idea of like, we care about the regular person, and it's like, you know, every major left, it's like Amazon, Apple. I mean, come on. It's just, the jig is up on that, I think. And now I think it is more the right that is like really anti like corporatism like that. And so I would say crony capitalism. Some traditional liberals would hopefully agree with me on that. Do I wear any barefoot shoes? Funny you should ask, because I just interviewed yesterday a barefoot shoe expert, and that is going to be my guest next week. So I'm going to be interviewing this barefoot shoe woman who knows, I mean, she knows the foot, okay? And she talks everything about, like, should babies be wearing socks and shoes, how to know that your shoes actually fit you if you can't spend the money on, like, a literal, you know, actual barefoot shoe. What is like the next best thing if you have to shop at Walmart or Target or things like that, like what to look for. It was such a helpful, practical episode, which is a little bit different. It's not as like, it's like in depth, but it's not as like dense as the episode that I had come out today with Callie Means. Are there any topics that you want to do on the spillover, but you haven't found the right guest. Oh my gosh, so many topics. I really want to do the childhood juice schedule. I'm using that as a code word. So I really have been for years wanting to do a episode on that, but it's such a controversial topic still, especially like how the mainstream media will write it up, how the left will take it, that like the person that I interview on that has to be a doctor, in my opinion, has to be somebody who is credible. Like there's been some people that are like, interview this, you know, he is a doctor and he is technically a chiropractor, but has a lot of views on the juice schedule for children. And I'm like, that's great. I believe that you know what you're talking about. The problem is that your average low information person on this subject is going to be like, oh my gosh, he's a chiropractor. He doesn't know what he's doing, even though we know that actually chiropractors, they're more in tune with how everything works together in the body more than your typical, like what Callie was talking about today, your typical Stanford medical doctors. I mean, they don't know freaking anything. They don't even spend one day on nutrition in all their years of med school. So I love functional medicine, like chiropractor types, like Dr. Patrick Flynn, who I've had on, Dr. Red, who I've had on. I think they're phenomenal. I think they get a lot more than like your typical doctor. So anyway, I don't have a problem with that, but there's certain things that I want to cover that it has to be the right person so that I don't get slammed and people are like, I'm not listening to this. This isn't a real source. So, in time, I'm sure I will find that person. If you know somebody, you can DM me. But, and then, yeah, like I said, I really want to do a Botox episode. I don't want to lay all my cards out because, as we know, lots of people want to talk about these issues, and I want to be the first. So I don't want to say everything that I want to do that I haven't done yet, so nobody can snipe me. But yeah. Okay, so is there any other things? Any other questions? That was some of the Q&A. Am I taking birthright supplements or Heart and Soil? So I have both at home. I have both and I love both. I am friends with the Birthright supplement girl and I love her products. Oh my gosh, there is just not a better, like openly conservative supplement company that is sourcing from all regenerative, grass-fed cows. Like it's like freaking amazing. Her beef liver and everything is so good. Heart and Soil is also incredible. Like their products are incredible. I have both. So honestly, it's like I kind of dibble and dabble right now. I'm trying both out. And they both offer different things. So I don't think you can, honestly, you wouldn't go wrong with either. I do have a code right now for Heart and Soil, I believe. Don't I? Maybe I haven't set it up yet. I do have a Heart and Soil code. If you want to ask me and I can try to figure out what it is. Any other ones before we end? Caitlin says, once you make your own bone broth, Alex, you're never going to go back. It's so much better flavor. Oh, girl, I know. My friend Lacey made me homemade bone broth and I had it and it was the greatest thing I've ever tasted. It was just like I woke up and saw color after seeing black and white my entire life. Now the Kettle and Fire bone broth is amazing. I think it's the best one on the market. But yeah, obviously there's never anything better than homemade. And so it was so good. Melanie says, thank you, Simon. We appreciate you. Yes, guys. Simon is my editor. What is what? Oh, Slimon. Or I call him Simone. Did I have a comment? Rachel says, Alex, did you have a comment on the life doesn't start until motherhood sentiments from Harrison Butker's speech? Well, I mean, that didn't offend me because I would agree. Like, I feel like I've accomplished so much. Like, obviously, I love my career. I've done so many things with my career, so many neat opportunities, met so many people, the president, Taylor Swift. I mean, I've done so many things in the last, how long have I been in? 12 years I've been in media. So all of that I'm so proud of. But I know that if I get to become a mother, that, yeah, I'm going to feel like, okay, I'm going to feel like, I don't know, like this is what I've been working towards. Now, that's if I am meant to become a mother. If it's not in God's plan for me to become a mother, then this is my highest calling. But I'm saying I agree with him that if that is part of God's plan for you, then everything else I think is going to pale in comparison to that. And you will feel like, wow, my life, like I didn't like life was good and maybe it was fun. You did a lot of fun things, but like it just doesn't compare to being a mom. And then, but that isn't saying that if you never become a mother, that your life is you know, you never really had a life or something. I just don't take it that way. So yes. Okay. Now, a couple things. The spillover that came out today with Callie Means is one of my now top 3 favorite episodes I've ever done. I know it's long, but it is just crazy, like fact after fact after fact, in a deeper way than we've ever dived into on the spillover, into how the pharmaceutical industry wields power over all of us. Those of you who have already watched or listened, you've told me that you've been blown away. I know it's long, so I know a lot of you, most of you probably like are going to get to it when you get to it, you know, in segments as you're driving to and from work, or, you know, running errands, or over the weekend while you're cooking or cleaning the house, or whatever you're doing. So, you know, over time, as you listen to it, I really want you to let me know what you think about it. I will tell you, like, this was just an interview that I was so proud of, and I was so excited for it to come out. Months and months ago, like earlier this year, it must have been like February or something, I had asked him to please come on the show. I actually listened to an interview he did with Dr. Mark Hyman, and I was crying listening to it because he's just, you know, the truth that he shares is so powerful and undeniable. So I was crying, and I DM'd him on Instagram. I'm like, hi, I have a podcast, and I'm crying listening to your interview with Dr. Mark Hyman. Will you please come on the show? And he was like, yeah, of course. And then he happened to live in Scottsdale, which was really cool. So that's where I live. And I was like, no way. So it was like he was close, but just with our schedules, he wasn't able to get in, and we weren't able to record with him until a few weeks ago. So he came in a few weeks ago, and I was so excited for this episode. I've been all year waiting for this to come out. So we are only, by the way, a couple subscribers away on the Real Alex Clark YouTube channel from 350,000. That is crazy. So if you are watching this and you have not made an account on YouTube to just hit subscribe, or you have an account but you haven't hit subscribe, please do that. We are so close, like literally a couple away from 350K, which is surreal. So thank you very, very, very much for that. Last minute YWLS tickets, YWLS2024.com, code Alex for 25% off. Thumbs up this video, subscribe, let's hit 350K, and I will see you next Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. This is Politics Live. It's pop culture without the propaganda. I'm Alex Clark. Bye!